It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next guest, not that she really needs any introduction at all. Over the last 17 years, she's been the constant face of Print NZ, driving the growth for industry membership in conjunction with Joan and Simon when the changes were made. They were in trouble in New Zealand. We slipped, I think, as low as 300 members, but pleased to say that team improved that tremendously. Dan in the seat now, I'm sure that'll continue. And Ruth's always very visible, attending all major industry events and doing Print NZ proud. Ruth Cobb, welcome to the stage.
Thank you and good morning. Everybody can hear me okay. I made a big mistake at Pride and Print and I thought I was a bit taller than I was. We'll get started. So as Ian said, Print NZ is the industry body for printing in New Zealand. Most of the New Zealand companies that are in this room today are our members, which is great. Those that aren't, Ian can sort that out. He'll come and see you. So that's good. So I'm going to cover a couple of things here. Training. It's good to be able to come and give you an annual update on what's happening in the training front. There have been a number of changes over the last couple of years, so it's good to be able to put those in front of you and get some feedback on how they're working, and a couple of other new initiatives that we've taken on this year. So I'll just run through those. So I talked last year about the changes to the ITO structure, and we are now working partnership with Competens. So they're the ITO for our industry now. We are a small part of a large organisation, but we've made sure that we have a voice inside Competens. We punch well above our weight. We're about 430 trainees out of 20,000, but that wouldn't be representative of how we're heard inside that organisation. We have an excellent relationship with them, and we want to make sure that that continues. The thought that comes to mind with that, so you will be seeing Competens people inside your business, but we still work with training as well. We still get a lot of calls about training. We still deal with training. So you can talk to either of party. The bit that comes to mind when I think about this is you see it on the back of trucks when you're driving down the road and it says comments or compliments, phone this number. And please feel free to do that as well. As far if you've got good things to say about Competens, we want to be able to hear those and pass them on. If you've got some issues, something's not quite working as you wanted it to, or it's not quite fitting into place, then also talk to us and we're happy to help you get those resolved. The print programs, these are the current programs that are operating in the industry as far as print qualifications go. And when we talk about training, that's what mostly comes to mind for you. So it's the standard programs that we run through there. Most of the people in this room would be using RealFeds, SheetFed, and some of the print finishing qualifications. And we've had people go through the diploma. So they're the ones that come to mind. But we do now work in a lot of areas that are non-print programs, and this is where there's been a lot of focus, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about this. So the Certificate of Core Manufacturing, this is an ideal area for your machine assistants. There's a level 3 program we're just in the throes of introducing some print-specific qualifications into that program. So you will do some core common unit standards that relate to manufacturing, and then you will get a choice of some print qualifications, and quite a broad range of them under the different headings of the types of printing that will let you make that more specific to your business and more specific to our industry. So that is something to have a look at if you've got machine assistants working on there, or people working assistants in your binderies, etc. They would be able to go and do that qualification. So the level 2 or the level 3, which will include the print specific options. The business admin, introduction to team leadership, that's something that's taken off this year, and that's, again, something that a lot of you will use. A lot of print supervisors come from the core printing team, so you operate in the print team. A couple of the apprentices that were talked about last night, that's exactly what's happened with them. They've been good printers, they've been moved into a supervisory level. So for some of them, that's a natural step. They might be natural leaders and that works well for them. For some of them, not so much, and they might need a little bit of guidance around that. So that introduction to team leadership is a great way to do that for them, and think about that before you put them into that role. So give them an opportunity to do that training before they have to step up and make changes in the way they operate in the business. The sales level 3 and level 4, again, that's an introduction to selling. If you've got customer services staff that you might want to develop, even for your customer services staff, selling on the phone is still selling. The OSH level 3 and level 4, Anthony's presentation yesterday, he talked a little bit about this, about the training that needs to go on there. Once the legislation becomes finalised, there may be some element of training required in that OSH area where you will have to have some of your staff have formal qualifications, so those two can be done through us. The gateway programs, which is working with schools, they're always a great way to get people to come in and look at our industry. You get a chance to see how they work, they get a chance to see what our industry is about, and they can do unit standards while they're having a look at that, and then that's where sometimes we can get apprentices to come into the industry through that gateway program. There are a large number of schools throughout New Zealand that run the gateway program, so if you're interested in that, talk to us. The diploma in applied journalism, so that's for the newspapers running journalists. Okay, so they go through journalism school, they come in, and this is an evidence-based diploma, next step up that comes when they've finished that training. And then we've recently added onto this first aid too, so options to do first aid training. We've worked in conjunction with St John's to put a program together. Again, health and safety legislation, you will all have to have trained first aiders in your business. And don't just think about the people that are in your business either, because it's not just them. A lot of you will have people that are on the road all the time. They should have, they should probably also be qualified, whether that's your truck drivers or their sales reps. The chances are at some stage, they may be the first on the scene in an accident, or they may have an isolated accident when they're out on the road, so they have to know how to deal with that. So don't just think about that being your core staff inside the business. Think about your staff that operate outside your business. And one of the things that we've done this year is to start to look at different ways. You're used to doing all your training on the job, so all those traditional print programs, these ones that we've been doing here, business admin, sales, OSH, they've all been on the job training. And one of the things that we've been trialling this year and has been quite good is doing some of these as workshop training rather than on the job training. So the programs that have currently done that, so the first aid obviously, the OSH training, we've had some workshop sessions where you've gone 2 days for a month and then 2 days the next month, and that completes your level 3 qualification. For some people, that's a great way to learn. I like learning like that. I like learning in a classroom style with other people. And so that may be more suitable. It gets rid of the self-pacing of continuously having to chase these people up. And I'm just in discussions with someone to do the same thing for the sales program, for sales level 3 and possibly level 4, is to do that in a workshop style. You go back and do some assignments that you have to do in your business, but you do that between your workshops, and it keeps the progress going with those. So talk to us about those if you're interested in those. There's one, and the other one that we're doing that with is, I think next week they do the introduction to team leadership, will have its first exposure to being done in a workshop rather than being self-paced through the business. So review of qualifications, this is a constant that goes on. Back on the page where I talked about the print qualifications, they were what we call combo programs, so they were level 3, level 4 stepping programs. The government have said that apprentices now all their training needs to be at level 4, and we had to go through and review, so we did an extensive review of all the print programs and the binding and finishing and the diploma of print management. So previously in the diploma of print management there were 3 steps. You did a level 4 certificate, a level 5 certificate, and then a level 5 diploma. But the reality is everybody just wants to get to the end of the diploma, so we've combined all that and made that one qualification. You will now, from 2016 on, you will do a New Zealand certificate in print. That's what they're called now, a New Zealand certificate in print, and they will have a strand according to which part of the industry that you work in. That'll be a 240 credit program. The existing qualification, the combo, is 180. There are a couple of reasons around the change. Some of that is around the funding requirements that TEC have imposed on the ITOs, and some of that is around making sure that the person that comes out of this program has the skills that you need them to have. Okay, and so how these reviews have been undertaken is that we have a governance group which has a look at the qualifications in the industry, and basically at the big level we're saying the person that comes with this qualification, that comes to you with a New Zealand certificate in print, what do you expect them to know? And then we look at what's required, the unit standards that might be required to make that up, and so that's how that's been put together at that point. Where we're at now is that we're down to the technical, down to the nitty-gritty stuff. So this is where we have a look at those unit standards and the content in the unit standards, and we want to make sure that, again, that will deliver that person. So we've decided that a person who's a printer will have these qualities. We need to now make sure that the unit standards that make up that qualification will deliver those qualities to you. And this is where we get into our technical advisory groups. And I'm putting it out there, if there are any of you that are interested in participating in that and having a look at the qualifications that are relevant to the training that you're doing, then we're happy to have you as part of that technical advisory group. Some of the people some of the apprentices that are here that have just finished their training, maybe you've got some comments on the stuff that was great for you and the stuff that perhaps you didn't find so relevant or wasn't really what you expected it to be or didn't fit with your workplace. We'd really like to get that feedback in. We have to have these pushed back through to NZQA by the end of this year. So if you want to participate in those groups, you're most welcome to. We'd appreciate any feedback that you've got if you don't want to be part of the group, but you have got some feedback about the content of the programs, then please talk to us. And then the other one, same with the binding and finishing. Some of you will have binding and finishing apprentices going through your premises as well, so talk to us about those. Those are under review as well. So Trust for Skills. This is has anyone here heard of Trust for Skills? So 2 down the front, that shows what a terrible job. We've done 3, that goes. So Trust for Skills is a training fund that sits there with the purpose of educating and advancing the skills of the people in our industry. It has been around since 1990-ish, I think. And it was a combined trust with the union. Okay, so we worked, this comes back from a long history of employers having to deduct union fees from employees' pays, and for that there was a levy that went off to create this trust. And so the union have continued to pay into that for a period of time, but that ceased last year. They then came to us and said, we'd like to split the fund, so the fund has been split in half, and we now have our remaining half of the fund, which has got a new set of trustees, and some of the cumbersome rules that sat around the trust have been removed. So previously you had to have had union members employed by your business or you couldn't apply to the trust. So with the union side of the equation gone, that is now open to all of the industry to apply. Okay, and so this is not about applying to have your apprenticeship costs covered, okay, you're already getting a subsidy from government to do that, but this is about applying for other training that you might want to do in your business. So if you've got a program that you want to run through your business, that might be a lean manufacturing program, it might be something else that you bring in, you want to bring a trainer in to train your staff about this particular thing, then you can apply to the trust for funding to help you do that. The trust has approximately $500,000 after the split, and they have an aim of distributing between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. So we need those applications to come in so that we can help you help our industry. Diploma of Print Management people, again, this isn't very well known. Every paper that's completed, you can automatically apply. If you pass that paper, you get $100 back from the cost of having done the paper. So that should be something that any of you that are running diploma students, you should be doing that automatically at the completion of each paper, getting your $100 back. That's money that you can reinvest into your business or into other training. So the website is there. I've got some brochures in my car if anybody wants one. They're a little bit out of date because they still talk about the union. This split of the fund is very new, so 1st of July, the split happened on the 30th of June, so 1st of July we have a new set of trustees in there which are appointed by the Board of Print NZ, and they'll be making the allocations of grants. So don't forget about it. If you're thinking there's something you want to put through your business and you're not sure about the costing, then talk to us. Oops. Training numbers, I don't know, are they very big on there? I'm not sure if you can see them. The ones that are important to you, they're tiny on my screen. The ones that are important to you, they all look like they're moving in the right direction, which is good. The overall total is lower than it was 18 months ago, but the trainees in reel fed, the trainees in print finishing, the trainees in the sheet fed sides of the business, they are on the increase, and that's good to see. But it's important that we keep those training numbers moving up. And this is why, basically. The labour market, so the Skilled Vacancies Index, this is talking about, so this is the MB they are now, who take all the advertisements in across all the mediums and have a look at how many ads are applying for skilled workers, okay? And so you can see the steady incline in that. So you're in a very competitive market when you're looking for skilled workers now. There are lots of jobs out there looking for skilled workers, and in particular the graph on the right-hand side, the top line, you probably can't see the breakdown of that, but the top line is trades. Ads looking for trades, so the increase in that is substantially more than the overall skilled workers thing. So you've got competition when you're looking for jobs, and that's why training is important, because there's a time lag from when you take those apprentices on till they're skilled workers. You've got a bit of a time lag, and this will catch up with you very quickly. We're already getting indications of skill shortages, so we need to be on the forefront of that and getting that training in place. This is unemployment and employment in New Zealand. So again, you can see the employment numbers creeping up and up and up, and the unemployment number, a little glitch at the end of the last quarter, but we're still in the fives, so 5.9% was the figure in the last quarter, and you've got to bear in mind with that, that the figure, while 5.9% is the overall figure, the figure for 21% is the figure for 15 to 19-year-olds. So the bulk of that unemployment sits in the 15 to 19-year-old category. And what that means is that your unemployment numbers in 20 plus are actually basically at the level where the people that remain unemployed are unemployable. So you've got to think about that. Those are the statistics that tell you that we're heading very quickly for skill shortages. Just some other stuff. Print NZ has joined with the Australian Two Sides so Two Sides and Value of Paper and Print. These are two campaigns that look at promoting print as a medium. The Two Sides campaign talks about the environmental effectiveness of print, and the Value of Paper and Print talks about Two Sides talks about the environmental side of print. The Value of Paper and Print talks about the effectiveness of print as a medium. And this was just released last week, so this is a literacy study that was done in the UK and the USA, so the statistics taken from there. And some of those make good reading, and you should be using these. We'll release all this information. These are figures that you can use when you're talking to your customers. But they tell the story. I'm not going to read them all out to you, but they tell the story of how people feel about reading. I hope you'd read all that. Speed reading, I'm sure. How people feel about reading information on paper versus reading information on tablets and smartphones. I'll just give you a minute to absorb all that. But the last one is that 83% of all respondents state a clear preference for reading print on paper. And I look at all those stats and think I fit perfectly into those. And that was across a range of age groups. So it wasn't, that's just not surveying older people. That survey started at the age range of 18, I think, and went through to people in their 60s. So, and I'm not sure how big the screen is when you look at this because I can't see it. But the question here was, when I have something complicated to read, I prefer to read it, and that number was 87% on paper, in print on paper. So they're the things that we're still dealing with. So print is not dead and print is not going to die. People will still need to be reading things, and people will still read newspapers. Other bits that we do, this was just a little bit of an add-on just for a couple of minutes. So what else Print NZ does aside from focusing on training? We're there to try and keep you inside the lines. The two biggest areas we deal with as far as that is concerned are employment relations, so dealing with issues around staffing, answering questions people have about staffing, working out what they can and can't do, helping guide you through wage levels, etc. And the other huge area at the moment, obviously, is OSH. So we do a lot of work in that area too. And Anthony's presentation yesterday was fantastic, indicating what's coming, and it is coming probably before the end of the year. There's just a couple of little points they're niggling over in Parliament, but that will go through quite quickly when it does, and it will have a relatively quick enactment date as well. so possibly the 1st of January 2016. For those of you that have got robust health and safety systems in place, you'll be fine. You know, there'll be some tweaking that you have to do, there'll be some terminology you have to change, but your systems will be fine. But for those that don't, or you treat it as a once a month or a once a quarter thing, that's where you'll have to change your practices, because really it will become a thing that you do a little bit of all the time. Anthony talked about audit systems. Print NZ has been doing, we have a service where I've got two very, very skilled health and safety people, and they have been going out into our member businesses. They can do an audit for you, go through your health and safety system, how it stands currently, and talk to you about where you might have some loopholes. The thing, we have had quite a number of visits into our industry over the last 12 months. This is not legislation yet, but the thing I will tell you is that the enforcement bodies are acting as if it is. So the bodies, the OSH enforcers that are going into the businesses, they're acting like this is law already, and they're talking about the things that are in here and the areas where our members aren't meeting. We have a company who's a relatively small business, and he is part of the ACC WSMP program, which most of you will understand is the primary, secondary and tertiary audits that you get done to receive a discount on your ACC funding. He had participated in that for many years and had ticked along fine. He came and had his audit was due this year. The ACC person came in and did the audit, came and talked to the owner of the business, said to him, you know, what happens in your, what are the hazards in your business, how are they managed, how are they resourced, and he said, oh, that, you know, this is all good, I've got a person that I contract, he comes in, he runs our health and safety meetings for us, he makes sure all our documentation is up to date, and he makes sure that we're keeping within the lines, so to speak. Now, he failed his audit on that basis because as an owner of the business, he needs to know what is going on in his business as far as OS is concerned, and he couldn't answer the questions. So he lost his discount to ACC because of that. So that is a prime example of A, why you need to know, but B, enforcers using this legislation prior to it being in place. Because a lot of it already sits in the legislation, it's just worded differently. So just be on your toes about that stuff if you are having visits from OSH. The audits that we can do, our staff can come and have a look at your systems and say, yep, this is where you've got some areas you might need to work on, this is all fine. So if you want to do that, then feel free to contact us. I know that Sir Ray Avery said yesterday New Zealanders don't like to follow rules, and that's why we're so great at what we do. But, you know, this is one area where I would stress you do need to follow the rules. Why that, and not following the rules is why we have the worst workplace death rate in the OECD. So this is one area where you do need to follow the rules. The present your case and provide you statistics, that's sitting around lobbying that we do on behalf of the industry. If you've got an issue in your area or an issue around a particular thing, then we're happy to lobby government on your behalf. We do a lot of that on behalf of the industry in the background anyway, in particular in areas like OSH, ACC. We do that without you knowing about it, but if there's something that you want us to focus on particularly, then please talk to us. Statistics, we have our annual survey that we conduct, things such as the Two Sides program with those figures that I just gave you before, that type of thing. Building your capability, that's around the training, and again, we have I've got staff that can come in and work on your businesses with 5S and lean manufacturing, so we're there to try and help make our member businesses be the best that they can be, and member discounts in some areas. So just the last bit I want to talk about, new initiative that we put in place this year that the Print NZ board picked up and wanted to run with, and these were about training graduations. So we've always been really, really good at doing Apprentice of the Year and saying, okay, here's our top 12 apprentices, here's our top 5 apprentices, here's our number 1. And they've been well recognised. That's been a system that's been in place for many, many years. But there's a lot of other training that goes on in our industry. Lots and lots of other people do training, and that has gone relatively unrecognised. At the business level, it might be recognised, but nothing further than that. And so what we did this year for the first time was held training graduations, and they recognised every trainee that had completed a qualification in 2014. And that didn't matter if it was level 1 or level 5. And it didn't matter if it was a sales qualification, a business admin, a first aid qualification, or if they'd gone through and completed the diploma. Everybody got their chance to be recognised. And for some of these people, and Melissa referred to this yesterday, for some of them, it's the first qualification they've ever achieved in their life, and it's a huge deal for them, and it's a huge deal for their families. And so we wanted to pick up on that and give them their 5 minutes of fame on the stage, a chance to come across, pick up a medal, and be part of that celebration. And so they will be ongoing. We held them in Auckland and Christchurch. That was based on the geographical location of the trainees from 2014. That may change in 2015 based, depending on where those trainees are coming out of their time. But we will definitely run them next year. So if you see information coming through about this, please encourage your trainees that have completed to come and participate in them and give them a chance to have that time to stand up and be proud. I'm just going to finish off with a little video, which is kind of a summary of the apprentice graduation, so please sit and enjoy this. No, that didn't work. My man down the back's going to fix that for me. Oh, there we go. So that's about Pride in Print celebrates the excellent work that we print in our industry, and this is about celebrating the people. It takes a team of people to make every one of those jobs, and this is about celebrating the team of people that go together and commit to our industry to help us produce that excellent work. So yeah, look out for those next year, and thank you for your time. Happy to take any questions. Oh, that was there already, right, go. Oh, good. Thank you very much.